Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Pinstar Plays Railroad Corporation. So, at PAX East 2019, I previewed several games, one of which was Weedcraft Incorporated, which will be resuming, I promise. Another one was PAX Nova, which I showed earlier, and now we've got another one also being published by Iceberg Interactive, who also published PAX Nova, Railroad Corporation. This is a very classical style, sort of a railroad tycoon transportation management sim, but it doesn't just take the admittedly successful formula and just copy paste it. It does its own things. It's got its own mechanics with it. It's got its own chutzpah, and I've gotten up to about mission 3 in the campaign so far, and the mechanics just keep unfolding, and the layers of strategy keep getting deeper. But it's also very accessible at the front end. So to somebody who has never played a tycoon transportation game, this is one that you can get into. Now, we've already done the tutorial, so I will be your tutorial. So we're going to get things started by starting a new campaign. Now, as far as the campaign goes, at the start of the campaign, you pick one of 3 companies, and this determines what kind of bonus you get. And this bonus carries through to all the different missions. Now, of these 3, I'm wondering if they need to do a balance pass on this, because at the moment, Harrington's Railroad is by far the most powerful of the bonuses. While yes, for your first couple of routes, the money saved from the railroad laying discount won't hold up to the free locomotive or the extra 10,000 buckaroonies. But over time, it more than builds up to that to eclipse these two. So we're going with that. Harrington's Railroad. And the whole idea is that we are not the actual big boss. This guy is. We are merely a high-level employee of this big guy, and he's got assignments for us. So we're just sort of, we're not, this is not the entirety of the company that we're about to build here. We're just in charge of this new segment of the company. And if we do well, he gives us a new job and whatnot. And we actually build ourselves up as a skilled employee to further give ourselves more bonuses. I'll show you at the end of this one. So this, my friends, is the world map here. As you saw before, there is coming a sandbox mode with presumably randomly generated maps, but for the time being, we've got the campaign and their crafted maps. Now, as far as our main objective here, well, our ultimate objective is to get steel delivered to, I believe it was Cincinnati? Cincinnati, yes. But before that, we need to actually produce the steel. So our first objective is to get 10 iron ore and 5 coal delivered to this steel mill over here, to Barnstable Town. Now, I have to say, in my initial few attempts of this mission, I went straight for the throat, trying to blitz these conditions as quickly as possible, and got a game over. And you know what? I like it when a game kicks my butt while I'm still learning it, and then once I've learned it, once I understand the mistakes that I have made, then the mechanics go my way. That makes me very happy. So this game does have teeth. You may, on your first few attempts, get game overs, or in this case, you're fired from the company. But that's okay. You just get back up and try again. Now then, as far as what we are going to do is, what we want to do is we need to make some baseline income before we start expanding ourselves. Our headquarters is, for this mission anyway, located in Bowling Green, which means that everything we do has to sort of stem from and center on here. So as far as as far as our stuff goes, we can't just like plop down a route between, say, here and here. We have to be centered on here. So let's focus on ways of making money in the immediate. Now, one thing we have here is a coal mine. Now, we are going to want to hook up this coal mine for eventually bringing down the coal down here to the steel mill. But for the moment, there's somebody else who wants the coal, and that's City Hall. You can see very easily all of the supplies and demands of the various sites here. And I have to say, the rail laying and the route setup mechanics are very, very intuitive. They're very, very intuitive, very non-fussy. And these tycoon transportation games, if you've seen my Transport Fever series, can get very, very fussy. Now, granted, a certain level of fussiness is a good thing because that lets you sort of micromanage your stuff, but still. Anyway, so what we're going to do here, you can see what our costs are looking like, and you can already see our discount, that -10 bonus, which applies to both the rails and the soil excavation, too, kicking in. You can also see what the maximum speed is of any given segment, and if anything that you're doing is actually going to cause that to get a lot, get slower if you do like sharp turns. The other nice thing about this, and another notch on the non-fussy mark here, is watch this. So the station will automatically place itself once you reach your destination, and it will orient itself however you approach it. And as far as where the buildings are, the game doesn't care. Watch. Bink! It automatically shuffles the town around to fit your station. Maybe not the most realistic thing in the world, but you know what? It is a small sacrifice of realism for a lot of non-headache-ness game-wise. So I appreciate it. Now, setting up a route's even easier. We click on here, buy a locomotive. It always appears in our headquarters. And we only have one choice at the moment, but we'll be able to research new ones soon. This isn't a game that just sort of drip feeds you locomotives. We are responsible for researching our own tech for locomotives and the upgrades therein. So let's do that, shall we? All right. So as far as setting up our route goes, it's really easy. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to pick up coal. What do? We just say, all right, I want to pick up 2 things of coal. We got 2 things of coal. That's taking up 36 tons of our 40-ton limit. It even tells us how fast, or rather how slow we'll be going at once we're fully loaded. But yeah, that's kind of slow, but that's okay. Now, what do we want to do with this coal? Well, we want to go down here, and we want to deposit it here in City Hall, which essentially is just selling it to the town. This not only gives us money, you can see how much we'll get per car full of coal, but it also helped the town grow and expand its demands and its supplies of other stuff. So there's multiple benefits to supplying a thing other than just money. So we go ahead and apply that. Let the train do its thing. We'll crank the speed up here. Arrives at station, refuels the coal, and then... Now, here's the interesting thing. So this coal mine, this isn't ours. We don't own this coal mine. So we did have to buy our units of coal. Later on future missions, you can actually buy the entire industry, any industry, including the raw material producers, and therefore you don't have to buy the materials. You just give it to yourself for free. Granted, you have to pay an upkeep on the industry itself, but you can sort of invest extra to get a longer-term payout. But for this mission, we can't buy any industries, but that's okay. You don't need to. So this thing's going to slowly chug its way back. Now, right now, the best friend's a pretty sad excuse for a locomotive. We kind of want to transition out of these as early as possible, because, yeah, they kind of suck. So let's do something about that. So here on our headquarters here, we're going to upgrade it, set up a new office, and install ourselves a research and development department, which was one of our missions anyway. So here, this is our R&D tree. So the way the tree is laid out here is you've got each locomotive, it's sort of centered on each locomotive. So each locomotive has a big web of upgrades and other goodies that it can do. But it also allows you to tech down to further and further locomotives. Now, for this mission, we're only allowed to go into the John Bull and all of its upgrades, as well as the sort of the transitional upgrade for this over here. As every mission that I've gone past that adds a new engine and 11 billion upgrades for it. And these engines are drastically different. They're not necessarily strictly better. Like the minute, well, I'll say, the minute we get the John Bull going, the best friend's going to be obsolete. But the minute we get on the next mission, the next locomotive, which I don't remember the name, that does not immediately render the John Bull obsolete, because engine number 3, which again, not in this scenario, is a very different beast than the John Bull, and there may be situations where you'd want to use one or the other. That being said, we want to get ourselves to the John Bull ASAP. So let us research all locomotives' power, because we have to research this one to get to the John Bull. That being said, we can make some of these best friends modicumly useful. One thing I've found here is we got 10 scientists, and you can assign any number of scientists to a project, and every scientist that you assign will cut the length of time the project will take down. However, just sort of like in capitalism too, the more scientists you pile onto a project, the less effect each individual scientist will have on that. So there's diminishing returns. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have 2 projects going at once. So I'm going to get 5 scientists here to all locomotives' power, and let's do... do we want to do pulling mass? Yeah, let's do pulling mass for the best friend here and get 5 scientists going on that. Just to make because we are going to buy a few best friends until we have enough tech to transition out of them properly. Right then, let's unpause. And yes, here's a little side quest. So you have an optional objective of completing 5 researches. We're going to do more than 5, but it's a good way to point you in the right direction. Now we still have some cash left over here, so let's keep investing here. So one of the other things that Bowling Green is demanding here is wood. We certainly want to provide some wood here, so let's get a route going here to a lumber mill. So we're going to draw it out of the other end here. We're going to take a little sharp turn. As you can see, the sharper turns cause a slowdown, but since our locomotives are pretty slow as is, that's not a problem. 49 miles an hour slowdown is not going to hurt anybody. All right, so we've got that here. And again, it orients itself, rearranges itself, and bada boom, bada bing. So we are going to go ahead and buy ourselves another best friend. 1, 2, nope, just 1, 2. Again, these things really don't carry that much, but every little bit helps. And off you go. Now, we could do another little bit here. We could get some passenger service here, although passengers transportation, unlike goods are bought and sold at a fixed rate. The price is the price no matter how far you took that thing to get there. But passengers care about how far they were brought in order to determine how much they're going to pay you. And this little jaunt right here, that ain't that far. So we're not going to get very much from doing passengers back and forth yet, anyway. It might be better off to just sort of sit on the cash for the moment. So you can see here they've delivered this. Now, slowly over time, City Hall, the town will digest this stuff. And then, yeah, see, it just digested a unit of coal here. And we just supplied it with 2 more. As it digests these incoming goods, it uses that to fuel its growth. So the population will grow over time. And as the population hits certain thresholds, new demands start appearing and new supplies start appearing as the town gets more and more developed. So you kind of need to factor in some of your stuff here. All right, we just finished our all locomotives power, which means we can start researching the John Bull proper. 130 days, that's fine. All right, cashing in our wood, refueling, very good. Now, there's a few other routes that we can consider here. Yeah, construct a repair shop. So one of the things you need to worry about with your trains here is that they will eventually wear out. Now, there's 2 different factors to this. There's age and then there's miles. So think of it like your car with an oil change. The service is the oil change, but eventually the age is just going to make the car fall apart, even if you took real good care of it. But it's just prompting us, hey, maybe we should consider getting a repair shop in here so we can do those oil changes, which I agree with. Otherwise, they're going to start breaking down midway, and then that's a big fat delay. So we're going to upgrade our station here, buy a new facility, and buy a repair shop. The other nice things about this is you can buy other stuff like cheaper maintenance or faster maintenance. So in the immediacy, these things are not that effective, but over time, they really, really build up. In fact, it might be worth our while to do these. And faster maintenance is definitely good, because maintenance can take a while. Now, one of the things is you also need to program into your routes that the maintenance needs to take place. Let's see here. I think, yeah, they just need to reach here. So here, we're going to tell it every time you arrive in Bowling Green, go ahead and do a round of maintenance. And that will just refill the mileage limit here back to full. And the maintenance will scale itself to both how long it takes and how much it costs you to how much of this you need to restore. So if they just need a quick touch-up, that's all they're going to get, and that's all they really need. But that way, that'll keep our stuff running nice and smoothly. So you'll go 1 more out and back. You should be fine. They usually don't start breaking down until they get past the 50% mark. So you can see here, they did a few trips without maintenance, so it's going to take about 30 seconds to fix them. And that's why the maintenance speed is all that more important. Now, one other thing you can do here is, if you continue upgrading the station here, you will get yourself a second track. Now, one little thing I'm going to do here is I actually want this track to be the one that goes on here. And I want to nip this one like that, because I want this one to be the one we hook up with Clarksville here. So we're going to start up a new route. Oh, that looks about right. Although that's a lot of soil excavation. Is there another route we can take that's a little bit more gentle with the soil excavation? Yeah, that's much better. Alright, let's go ahead. We'll set up passenger service between these two. Now, the one thing with this game is, you don't take out a loan in the traditional sense, which what it does is it allows you to overdraft your bank account up to 50K. Now, it charges you interest on that overdraft, so in a way it is like a loan. And if you go over 50K, game over. But that being said, sometimes getting a line of credit is useful to getting operations set up, like, oh, I don't know, a new route. So we are going to go ahead and willingly send us into overdraft to buy our new engine. And we are going to 1, 2, 3. Now, one interesting dichotomy here is notice the maximum speed here compared to the maximum tonnage. So if we take one person away, we get almost close to our max speed here. So it's actually a lot faster to only bring 2 people back and forth, for this engine anyway. So we're going to go ahead, offload people, and then while we're here, let's make it a round trip. Load up 2 people there, unload 2 people here, and while we're at it, don't forget to service yourself. So this will actually make their speed go a little bit faster. And since passengers are more based on yes, I know, maximum overdraft, blah, blah, blah. Don't bore me with debt. I just want these 2 because we need to hook some other stuff up here. I think, well, we're going to want to wait till we recover our bank account here before we do any more growing. It is good to be aggressive, but it's not good to be too aggressive. All right, let's speed you guys up a little bit here. Now, yeah, you're going to be waiting for your service as well. Everyone's going to be waiting for services here. Luckily, some of these services are nice and quick, because they don't need to have much done to them. Boop. Alright, yeah, you guys are still trucking away here. It just stinks that everyone arrives at the same time. Luckily, again, the services are nice and cheap, and we've got our cash back here, so we're good. We can continue expanding. Now, one thing we do want to get going here is we want to actually eventually bring meat to here. But first things first, we kind of want to bring Clarksville some grain. Now you can see here the town itself is asking for grain, but the farm itself is also asking for grain. And if we start feeding the farm grain, it'll turn it into meat. And then up here, Bowling Green is demanding the meat. So we can bring something back a lot more lucrative than just passengers. So let's do that. The other thing is, I'm going to actually be waiting for our new John Bull soon. Yeah, let's get the max speed on you guys going. So I want that John Bull, and we can also improve these guys a little bit. These trains will be coming a lot faster now. See, now that we've upped their max tonnage, they can go a lot faster with carrying the same load. Now, yes, I could weigh them down with even more cargo, and in fact, with these, I think I might. Well, that brings them back down to 15, so it halves their speed for only a third more thing. So you know what? It's actually better just to leave them alone. Let them go back and forth faster. All right, yeah, you guys are going a lot faster. Hopefully not too fast, because if you start transporting too much stuff, you may outstrip your production here. All right, we did one round of max speed. That's not really worth that thing. So I think I'm going to stop working on the best friend, because we're almost done here with the John Bull, and we can do a double project off of the John Bull here. New engine, beautiful. So again, what I've found most effective is the pulling mass and the max speed are the most effective short term, getting it immediately useful. But then you want to start branching out into fuel consumption, reliability, power, and the others. But for the moment, pulling mass and max speed are where it is at, because you want to move as much stuff as quickly as possible, and this is as much stuff, and this is as quickly as possible. So now that we've got that under the bag here, I think we're going to draw ourselves a new route. That's a lot of soil excavation. I found if you draw in short segments, you can, for one reason or another, cut down on your soil excavation costs. Probably because it's not going to try to warp the terrain into one big swath. Be approaching this from, I'm trying to see the best angle to approach this. Close enough. Alright, that puts us in the red, and a new locomotive will also put us in the red. But that's okay, because these are about making money. That just may put us a little bit more dangerously in the red. Let's wait for our engines to come in before we buy a new one. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to wait for this to come back, because it's going to come down this route anyway. Alright, there we go. So, we are going to buy ourselves a John Bull, and yeah, that we can go in there. And now, this thing is a beast. This thing can carry a lot more cargo. 65 unupgraded. So we're going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, it only goes 32, so it doesn't go nearly as fast, but it can carry a lot more. Can we get away with one more? At max cargo, it goes 3 miles an hour. Yeah, it's not worth it. I'll take the extra speed, thank you. But anyway, we are going to go ahead and feed that small farm, and then go back and forth to there. Now, once they finish doing that, I might have the John Bull take over and start bringing the meat to Bowling Green. But first, we got to feed it some grain in general. So you're going to take off. And this is why you need to hook everything up to your HQ, is all newly purchased engines always start at your HQ. And they have to find a way to get to whatever route you've set up for them. Now, I know this guy doesn't have any access to service, which is, again, why I might want to use him to sort of be a little bit more complex of an actor here. But for now, I think I'm just going to have you bounce back and forth just to get this, because this place just grew enough to start demanding meat too. So it's going to actually nosh some of the meat produced by the small farm before we have a chance to transport it. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, because we're still going to get paid for this grain we drop off. Oh yeah, we finished that. Let's get our max speed here, and yes, this one is worth it, absolutely. And yes, I know we are in the red. I'm not going to be doing any more large-scale expenditures here yet. But again, this is all in service to build us up money so that we can actually push ourselves to the objective in a more reasonable fashion and with higher tech stuff. If we were investing all that money into technology, but we weren't making enough, we wouldn't be able to buy the advanced engines that we were teching towards. So yeah, we dropped off the grain here. It is churning and burning and making our meat. Now that meat is immediately getting gobbled up by the city here. Eventually the city will leave the supply alone and mind its own damn business. But it is going to chew on some of it so that it can start bringing that up. Alright, we've finished another research. The max speeds ones go quick, which I guess that would be appropriate. I think what we're going to do... Power is a good one, because that helps acceleration, but that one's a little bit more expensive. Let's do fuel consumption, because this one can be a bit of a fuel hog. So we gotta get that fuel consumption down, so it costs us less every time we refill. What I might actually do is have this John Bull do this whole three-tier route by itself. And find a new home for our friend, the good friend. The question is, where do we bring the good friend? Oh, you know what? We could just do another random route up to Louisville. Louisville wants coal. We have a coal mine here. Why not? All right. Well, again, we're still in the red. Not the time for expansion here. But we're about to get paid. I think once you make your one more wheat trip here, I'm gonna alter your route so that you start making that final leg. That way you can actually finally get into the service station too, because it's starting to. I mean, it's not on its last legs by any measure right now, but we want to keep an eye on it, make sure it's doing its thing properly. And of course, we do still want to make sure we're making progress towards our quest here. But we will have plenty of time for that in due time. Yeah, once you drop yours off, then I will retool you. Make you better. You can see the town developing itself here. Okay, we've got you paused. Let's get growing here. So we're gonna grow you out to here. Bada boom, bada bing. Mr. T3. Well, first off, let's start with retooling you. So after we arrive here, we will pick up meat. Let's go for 3. And get our service on here, and then we'll pick up passengers. Yeah, that's fine. 5 passengers. And drop them back off here at City Hall. Oh, wait, no. Derp to derp. We need actually a new instance of Clarkville. We do want to drop off... We want to add Clarksville again. And then down here, drop them off. And then that will reset itself to down here to pick up more grain. And then you, I'll wait for you to unload and get paid for your stuff. But now we're going to get rid of Clarksville and Bowling Green altogether out of your mix. We want you to pick up a couple of things of coal here. Nope. Yep, just two. And drop it at Louisville. We'll build a service station here in New Orleans. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Why did you buy the meat? Why did you buy the meat? You load the grain, you unload the thing, you load the meat. Why didn't you go to Bowling Green? Seriously. Now that was a bunch of wasted meat. It was like $1,500 of meat. Alright, well, little setback there. But hey, we needed to bring more grain here anyway. And what we really want to do is we want this town growing. We want Bowling Green growing. Right, now you pick up the meat. Thank you. Yeah, buying all that meat ties up a lot of money, but then we make a profit when we eventually drop it off. 72, 38. So yeah, it's a good chunk of change when we drop this beast off. And then you're going to have one heck of a maintenance session. Well needed too. Yeah, almost a minute of maintenance. Alright, now that we've got that going, I think it is high time for us to start getting stuff over to Barnstable Town. So this station's going to need to grow in more ways than one. Ugh. Why? Why did you have to be on the other side? That's the wrong side. Alright, repair shop. I'm just going to stick with just the repair shop here. This one up here is fine. I don't really care that that one is that way. Because this one needs to... Let's approach this strategically here. That is a lot of soil excavation. 22, fair enough. All right. Once we get some more stuff going in here, we'll be in good shape. Actually, we should be in good shape to buy a new locomotives, and yeah, we're gonna go with the John Bull here. 2, 3, 4. No, let's just go with the 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll service you when you get up there. Apply. That'll help our finances as well as our quest progress. Pulling mass has been completed. Excellent. We want even more pulling mass, and yes, I'm going to take out a loan for that. Oh, I just noticed we were idling. What's another cheap research? Reliability is a cheap research to go for, so let's go for it. Again, 50K is the dead point. And sometimes product purchases can get a little hairy here. Boy, we just started buying like coal like crazy here. But usually a single coal mine can keep up. See, if this were a later mission, I would be wanting to buy that coal mine, because this thing, like not having to pay that $1,200 every unit of coal that you get, that adds up to more than the cost of the coal mine fairly quickly. If you're going to use a local industry that heavily. But we're making our money back quite nicely. I think I'm going to let you make 2 trips before I expand myself out to this iron mine here. But we should have all that done well before the deadline. How are we doing with the meat here? We just bought a whole bunch of the meat, so that will certainly send us deeper into the red. But I think we're keeping up here. We're certainly keeping up with demand in terms of keeping a supply standing here. Clarksville's still going to eat its share automatically, but we're still making so much meat that don't matter. Alright, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and draw out our new route. It's going to be expensive, but we gotta. Because we're going to actually turn this bad boy into we are going to take you 1, 2, 3 down here. There we go. So now we can get working on that portion. And what we'll do is once we build up enough money, I'll send a new one to sort of replace this. Or actually, you know what? Our best friend here could replace that. The T3 best friend. Why don't we start you? 1, 2. Yeah, I can't do a third, but that's okay. 1, 2. Because we don't need nearly as much coal as we need iron here. So as not to overload the steel mill, we have a weaker engine in place here. And then we'll have a big guy actually feeding Louisville. Actually, Louisville's fine for the time being. Louisville's actually just ducky at the moment. Well, one thing we could do is hook up this wheat field here. And then start feeding the... we actually start feeding... actually, no, we couldn't feed Louisville directly, but we can feed this small farm. But that's getting a little sidetracked here. That's a little bit beyond the scope of the mission. We'll send somebody up this way. Actually, you might be a good candidate to send up to Louisville. Because we've got more than enough coal to feed Bowling Green here. So why don't you just drop off your stuff? You know, one thing we could do with you... You could be a runner between Louisville and here. You both want mail, don't you? Yes, you do. Yeah, you know what? That might actually be a pretty smart thing to do. Not even bother stepping on that. 17. What if we do in a person? No. No, we want you nice and fast. So we're just going to do 2 and 2. And see, this is an appreciable distance. We're going to get $500 per 100 miles here. And it goes both ways. So yeah, that will be your new home here, my friend, is running the mail between these two. Am I not working on a... nope, we're still working on stuff here. Alright, let's get you upgraded to get the second track as well as the repair shop. And we'll do the cheaper maintenance. Overdraft? No, that's okay. Oh, what the hey. I'll do it. If I don't do it now, I'll forget about it. Faster maintenance, yes. Coal warehouse, cheaper. And faster. This will eventually be a... There we go. And now you have a... Alright, reliability has been researched. Excellent. Let's work on that power. Because power affects acceleration. Alright, we got the 5 out of 5 coal delivered. We've got 196 days to get that iron delivered. I think we'll make it. We're trucking around back and forth here. Louisville no longer wants wood. That's fine. We're not even bringing them wood. Yeah, see, one of the things is as they grow larger, they stop demanding some of the simpler things like raw grain and raw wood. And they only want the processed stuff, which makes sense. Luckily, that doesn't cut any of that out here. Yeah, so Bowling Green is now 6,002 people. It's a little large here. Still getting fed their meat. Still have an appreciable amount of coal to chew on, even though we've stopped feeding them that. Got plenty of wood to chew on. I'm curious how much this long-distance mail fetches us. Because that's a decent clip across the map to deliver that mail. Barnstable Towns now actually starting to grow. Yeah, 4,000 apiece. That's not bad, especially since we don't have to buy the mail. Unlike unlike with the raw industrial goods, the passenger stuff and the others, you don't have to buy those. You just pick them up and then that's your fee for delivery. So it's pure profit. So that's a pretty good run right there. All right, Barnstable Towns actually grown into its own thing. So this is the other thing I like is these these little outposts that are just a steel mill or just these things. These are still actually towns. They're tiny towns, but if you actually feed the industry enough, the town will actually start to sprout and grow on its own, and then start to demand its own goods, which is really, really awesome. As far as providing those, maybe not. I don't really see an easy means of providing that. So Barnstable Town, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we still have work to do. So I'm just going to leave that alone. We will just... pulling mass has been completed. Let's get that all locomotives fuel consumption, because that helps both the John Bull as well as the best friend, giving them bonuses. And then once we get our stuff in here, then we can really start going to town here. I mean, I guess we could do a long distance route from here to up here, but to what end is my question. Because I don't know if that would be profitable enough on its own right. Because again, industrial goods don't get you don't get extra for bringing industrial goods an especially long distance. It's only passengers and mail and such that care about that stuff. All right, so yeah, let's just focus fire our stuff here, make sure our projects are cooking, R&D is humming. Clarksville now demands mail. Well, good for Clarksville. Yeah, you keep gnawing on the meat that this farm produces, of course you're going to start demanding more stuff. Excellent. So we've completed our objective here, and now we have 700 days to deliver it to Cincinnati, way up here. So this is the other reason I was building up my cash reserves. So we're going to go ahead and get a route going here, across the river. We might as well make a stop through Lexington. And it rearranges the whole city for us. Thank you, Lexington. How kind of you. There we go. So here's what we're going to do. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take this thing that's here. I'm going to copy it onto a brand new one. So now we've just set up a new rail line, or a new rail thing that's going to have the same route as this guy. But this guy now is going to take on a new purpose. You are going to take us up some steel. And you're going to skip right the heck past here. And we're going to drop that off at the warehouse. Now, when we drop it off here, we might as well do something on the return trip. We might as well have some sort of effectiveness. So let's pick up some mail while we're up here. And then dump this mail off. There's nothing here because this town hasn't grown enough to start accepting tourists yet. So we're just going to send you back home. But that works out nicely. That way we get a little extra income on the backswing. You know, it's not going to be quite as lucrative because these two are closer to each other, but still, not too bad. All said and done. And we're starting to move our steel here. As you can see, steel very, very heavy. What the Sam heck are you doing? See, this is one thing I've noticed is sometimes when the rails are crowded, it sometimes has trouble finding its way. I don't know why it does this. Because yeah, he's going to try a new route too. I think that may be a bit of a bug. I'm not going to worry too much about it because we've got enough steel built up here. Eventually you'll find your way over here. We've got enough steel built up here to take care of this. Alright, so we dropped all of that off. We are full of mail here, which we will be dropping off at Lexington. 3,000 a pop, and there's 4 of them there, so that's not too shabby. All locomotives fuel consumption completed. Good, good. And we completed the other one too. Alright, let's work on aging. Oops. And we'll do another round of power. We might as well max out the John Bull, because I really, really like this locomotive. Like, really, really like it. It has quite the powerful package. Hey, he finally made it. And yeah, you even have your service order there once you start the route proper. Alright, finance is still holding steady. We got sort of a lot of outside things here. Louisville's almost finished digesting all that coal. I could set up another route to just do the coal, but it's not really that lucrative. That was more of a stopgap measure to keep the stuff profitable and busy mostly. I mean, we could do a double line here and then get these two sending stuff back and forth to each other, but we're nearly at the end of this particular mission, so it's fine as is. Yeah, and this is why I wanted the smaller train doing the coal, because we need a lot more iron ore than that, so we'll do the bigger train for that. Alright, we dropped off our other 2 steel, now we're bringing back more mail. It's fine to be a little lopsided here. Bowling Green now demands lumber. So previously it was demanding wood, but now it demands lumber. Now it has its own sawmill, so it can actually feed itself. I'm going to keep supplying it with wood directly until it stops demanding that. And then I can just start feeding the sawmill, which will then provide it with lumber. Alright, let's get that reliability research going. Actually, in this case, let's make sure we finish aging, because your researches carry over to the next scenario, so you want to get as much done as you can. and we want to make sure that aging is completed before we, because that's one less thing we'd have to research. Alright, picking up the steel. I believe that will be commission completion once we reach it. This is again why I want to try and see if I can clip aging real quick. Lexington no longer wants grain. That's just fine. I'm not trying to supply you with grain. But yeah, just it's, you know, stuff's happened. In this case, we've been delivering postage to it. So it's had some slow growth to there, but enough to push it over a threshold. Hey, slow down, aging. Nah, we're not going to get aging. Oh well. Boom! Success. Now, one more part of this, one more bit to this game before we end the episode here is, see how these different mission completions, some of them that were optional, some of them were you know, part of the main mission, all have these little graduation caps number them. What we get to do is now we, as a character, get to level ourselves up and buy some bonuses, which will then carry into future missions here. Me personally, I mean, track laying costs would certainly help, and yeah, soil works cost is a big one. But financier, lowering the upkeep of these things, not too shabby. And then locomotives costing less. We like to buy ourselves our locomotives, and these locomotives can be pretty pricey. But then again, upkeep of all buildings too. Tempting. But this one lets us expand more aggressively, so I'm going to go locomotives cost less, and that also opens up the locomotives cost less 10% for future missions. Alright, so that is the end of the first mission and the end of this video. So, if you guys like what you saw and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback is always welcome. If you want to get your hands on this game, it is available right now for early access. Link to the Steam store is in the description. Thank you again to Iceberg Interactives for providing me with this key. So until next time, this has been Pinstar signing out. See ya.